Welcome to the Afterspin, opinions from thought leaders in our state. I want to ask Becky Gray and Rob Schofield. The Republican convention is scheduled to be held in August in Charlotte. Now, President Trump says it's going to go on as scheduled. All delegates will attend. But some Charlotte leaders are voicing concerns about such a large gathering. Democrats have announced they're going to give delegates a choice of attending their convention, either in person or by social media. Should Republicans do the same thing or just plan to have the convention as held? Becky Gray, what do you think?
Well, it's a long time until that convention. It's the latter part of August. I was a little concerned. We saw this week Secretary Mandy Cohen was I think she was asked and spoke up and spoke about it and said that she thought they should plan for the worst and hope for the best. What I hope happens is that North Carolina officials will continue to follow the CDC guidance and the guidance from the federal government, as they've said they're doing all along, as they make plans. And I think that my advice to the Republicans would be to offer lots of different options. I know that they are watching things, they are evaluating the situation, keeping public safety at the forefront of the discussions, and perhaps offer some of the events virtually. Also offer maybe some smaller group. There's lots of options of things that they could
Right.
do, and I think that that's what they should. I think that's what they should look and plan forward. I don't think that anybody should be dictating to the National Republican Party or the National Democratic Party as to, how they should conduct their convention if it's done within the guidelines that the CDC continues to offer.
Yeah, Rob, Becky says there's a lot of time before August, but if you stop and think about it, there are hotel rooms that have got to be booked and people that have got to be hired to work for that. The convention center staff itself has got to be retained and trained, and there are all sorts of planning decisions that must be made prior to that time. Do you think they got enough time here? What do you think?
It's tough. It's 90 days away. Obviously, the decision needs to be made based upon public health concerns, not political concerns. It wouldn't matter if it was a comic book convention or a sports convention or a political convention. That the idea here is to keep people safe. And if you're a frontline worker, if you're someone working in an emergency room like a dear friend of mine is, he's a PA in an emergency room in Charlotte, I'm sure he's not super excited about the idea of thousands of people sitting close to each other and undoubtedly spreading the virus and causing illness, all for a TV show that basically we already know the outcome of, because it's not even a real political convention anymore. It's just a reality, part of Donald Trump's reality TV show life. So I think, I'm very concerned about it. I do think we should ultimately make the decision based upon public health policy and science, not upon on politics. And I think at a minimum, they ought to be offering the kinds of things Becky's talking about, the opportunity for virtual participation in certain events.
Isn't this going to be kind of an early read on how our elections are going to turn out in November?
Tom, I think that's a great point, and I think the enthusiasm that you'll see, and how many people do attend. I mean, at the end of the day, people get to decide where they go and how they participate in these things. So I think that's going to be a real measure as to, and we can compare the two parties and sort of the energy and excitement that these conventions bring about. And, it has become, Rob's right. We pretty much know what's going to happen. I guess we know what's going to happen with both the Republicans and the Democrats. It'll be interesting to watch. But it's a lot of theater, and it's also an opportunity for the two political parties to showcase what they have to offer, but also really gauge the enthusiasm and energize their base and their party. So that's going to be interesting to see too, I think, not just how they conduct their conventions, but what the response to it is.
This will show you something about my age, but I remember as a teenager when the summers of the political conventions were on, they were week-long events, and it was wall-to-wall coverage. Remember Walter Cronkite
Sure.
and David Brinkley and Chet Huntley and all of these, Howard K. Smith, all these people like that. And I was just glued to them, and it was a lot of interest because there were some suspense to some of the decisions. Rob, I'm afraid you're right. They're just made for television events now. Anyway.
Yeah, I remember those events too, and I enjoyed them tremendously. But times have changed, and it is really a question of how do we conduct democracy in this current crisis? And I would say things like virtual participation and indeed voting by mail, which is another controversy we really need to devote some time to in the coming weeks and months, is something we need to do to make the November election work and put that ahead of TV show ratings.
That's
The conventions used to last a week.
A week.
Now it's ongoing 24/7, and it's called Twitter.
Good point. Well, thank you for watching the After Spin. We'll have more video all during the week on ncspin.com.